conversation where we asked the tough question about why, despite his successes, despite his ridiculous community involvement, was PK Subban's existence in Montreal always littered with questions about him, about his character, about his leadership?
I know why. I've said this on the show to you. We've made this open. Do you think I should go down that road now?
Well, but I think it's tinged with a lot of things, and not the least of which is race plays a factor in this.
Absolutely.
And anyone who will say that, oh, race doesn't play a factor, they can point to other things. They can say, well, he was flashy. Well, he wasn't quiet. He didn't have hockey culture in him. And those are all ways to deflect from a fact for some, not all, that race played a factor in why there were always questions about PK Subban in Montreal. And there were plenty of them, right? There are plenty different reasons why PK Subban wasn't accepted completely by everyone in Montreal.
But no one wants to have the conversation.
About race?
The hockey community,
right,
with PK and the Habs and that team, do not want to have the conversation about what was actually going on here. Because
it's uncomfortable.
In another world, he's Paul Coffey. But he's not. He's PK Subban, and he's flamboyant, and he's this, and he's that. And it's all ridiculous. He is a Norris Trophy winning hockey player that you gave $9 million a year to 2 years ago. Can I read you what Marc Bergevin said about this guy when he signed him?
Yeah.
Let me find it. This was off the press release of the Montreal Canadiens, August of 2014. Marc Bergevin, the guy who traded him today, said the following. We are very pleased to have reached a long-term agreement with PK. This agreement helps consolidate the future of our team. A key element of our group of young players, young veterans, PK plays with a high level of intensity every time he steps onto the ice. Despite his young age, he carries a great deal of experience and brings contagious energy to the team. Defensemen of this level are a rare commodity in the National Hockey League. That's 2 years ago. That's less than 2 years ago. Just traded him. What happened? What happened? I don't have an easy answer for that.
I have one answer to it.
Shoot.
$9 million is different than $9 million cap hit was 2 years ago. With a cap,
especially with the cap not moving. Yeah.
And suggestions that the cap may go down. That's a little bit. There are also.
I'll take the money. Listen, money is important in everything, and I'll take that.
And I love all the different angles on this, because there's a lot of people right now in Montreal that are suggesting that this is Patrick Waugh all over again. You have allowed a superstar to just leave, and you've replaced him with somebody who's not quite him in Shea Weber. But I'll counter that with this. Shea Weber's on Team Canada. PK Subban isn't.
Nope.
Right?
Even when PK was there, he was playing 3 minutes a game in Sochi.
So for all the, yeah, PK's way better, and you're getting the different years, which is, I mean, you get years 31 to 40 years of age for Shea Weber. You get years 27 to 31 for PK Subban if you're David Poile in Nashville.
PK's got another big payday coming up in his career.
Yeah.
Don't cry no tears for PK. He's not only going to a great city. I've never been to Nashville. Here it's amazing. And with a young nucleus, the Ryan Johansson deal. How about the year David Poile's having here?
Right.
Ryan Johansson, PK Subban's doing great. He's going to hit another payday. So PK's going to be fine. PK's going to be fine.
And I can't shake out of my head in the PK conversation. And I don't think it's just race. And I'm not going to walk away from the uncomfortable conversation because people don't want you to play the race card.
Because nobody wants to have the conversation.
No, I know. No
nobody wants to have the
conversation. We've had the
because we're in
conversation.
Canada and everyone's awesome.
Right. It doesn't exist here.
No, it doesn't. Everything's great.
But I will say this. The questions of his leadership throughout, and the fact that the Masterton Trophy, the nominee from that team wasn't a guy who just donated $10 million to a local hospital, will astound me forever. It will, if you had told me when he made that donation, when he stood in the middle of the PK Subban atrium, that he wouldn't be nominated for every community service award. And I know Max Pacioretty's doing great things in Montreal too. But if you had told me that the largest single donation in Canadian history from an athlete would go nearly nearly unrewarded by the NHL, I would have shook my head and said, yeah, whatever. Like this ingratiates him forever to that city. And it will. And it will.
And you can see it on social media.
But he didn't get the Masterton Award nominee.
No. Look, I'm not in that dressing room, you're not in that dressing room. There's a lot of things we don't know.
Correct.
There's a lot of things you don't know. But what we do know doesn't make a lot of sense here from my seat. And could Shea Weber win a Norris next year for Montreal and they have a great year and he scores 18 goals? And sure, of course he could. I just, at face value, I don't really get it, is my point. And I know there's a lot of people out there completely rationalizing it, saying obviously Shea Weber's a great defenseman. Of course he's a great defenseman, 3-time Norris Trophy winner. Tell me something I don't know. But PK Subban, you committed $9 million a year to 2 years ago. What changed? You couldn't score a goal last year? That was on him? That's on PK? And you don't get a forward back in the deal? Not a lot of this makes any sense to me.
But it's not done.